Today we're hoping to start a conversation with you guys about engagement, what it means in clinical practice, and also about a program of clinical research that we and many others are engaged in. So we are representing a much larger group. There are many people all over the world looking at this. It's a group of researchers, clinicians, students, youth, families, everybody, looking at engagement, what it is, why it matters for outcomes, and how to measure it. So today is really more of a conversation than a presentation, and we're hoping to accomplish these two things. We want to share with you an overview of this program of research. We also want to get feedback from you. We want to hear from you how this might be resonating with you. Is it making sense to you? What difference does it make to you to think about engagement? And as clinicians, managers, families, researchers, what else can and should we be thinking about in terms of engagement? What else should we be considering as we move forward with the program of research? So what is engagement? So we've defined it as the client's commitment or investment in the treatment process, and it has three aspects to it. Affective engagement is how a client feels about the intervention and the therapist. So are they hopeful about the intervention? Are they hopeful about the therapist's ability to help them? Cognitive engagement has to do with what the client thinks about the intervention itself. So does the client believe that the intervention will work? And does the intervention and the plan, do they make sense to the client? And then finally, behavioral engagement is the extent to which the client is participating in activities related to the intervention, as well as their confidence that they'll be able to do the things that they need to do to achieve their goals. And that's in the sessions and also outside of the sessions. So engagement is thought to be important for client outcomes, and service providers can do things that either enhance or inadvertently undermine a client's engagement. So as part of understanding engagement, we want to be able to measure it. We're developing a range of tools to measure engagement from different perspectives. And PRIME stands for Pediatric Rehabilitation Intervention Measure of Engagement. I did have to peek. The self-report measures look at how parents, so in the case of the PRIME P, or children and youth, in the case of the PRIME C, perceive their own engagement in a therapy session. The PRIME G measures perception of engagement across sessions. And then we also are developing tools to measure engagement from the perspective of other people. So the PRIME SP is the service provider's perception of a client's engagement in therapy. And the PRIME PC is the parent's perception of their child's engagement in therapy. And the PRIME O is an observational measure that's designed for use by researchers. So now I'd like to invite Gillian King to talk about this international program of research.
Okay, internationally, you get slides of the world. This program of research, as Thomas said, is funded by CIHR and involves Holland Bloorview. We're the lead site here, as well as investigators in 5 locations around the world. In Toronto, one of our team members is now at St. Mike's. The team is also made up of investigators from Philadelphia, so the university, Temple University and Drexel University there, Oakland University, which is in Michigan, and the University of Queensland in Brisbane, Australia. So we are an international bunch. In addition to the locations I just mentioned where the investigators are, we're collecting data at other sites as well. And our partners include the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago, who are collecting engagement data with us around the Lokomat intervention. So it's a gross motor intervention. And we're also collaborating with outpatient and early intervention sites in New Jersey and in Philadelphia. Students are also involved with the program of research. They're looking at engagement in different ways. They're looking at it for parents and for kids and youth in different intervention contexts with different questions in mind. And 4 PhD students are investigating engagement at this point in time. Eric Smart's presently working on his PhD, and he'll tell you later on about his master's work that had to do with engagement. In addition to the core work that we're doing, the joint work that we're doing together, each site is taking the lead on various aspects of engagement. And in Toronto, our focus has really been on youth life skills, youth engagement and life skills, and also on engagement and solution-focused coaching, and with the leadership of Sarah Keenan and Heidi Schwellness. In Philadelphia, they've been more focused on family engagement in early intervention. And our colleagues in Australia are doing some very unique work. They're pursuing a stream of research that looks at how engagement is driven by people's needs according to self-determination theory. So people's needs for relatedness or belonging, for competence and autonomy.
Great, so now I'm going to invite Jan Magee to come up, our family leader, and she's going to talk about the interprofessional collaborative aspects of this program.
Thank you, and hello everyone. I've been a family leader at Holland Bloorview for a little over 7 years, and I'm also currently the vice chair of the Research Family Engagement Committee. And I'm very honored to be a part of this project, and I have a great interest in engagement for 2 reasons. One, my 17-year-old son, who has cerebral palsy, he's been a client of Holland Bloorview since he was 18 months old, so that's 15 and a half years that have flown by. And having him engaged in his therapy treatments is extremely important. Not only is it obvious to me that he tries harder and he has better success when he's engaged, I also feel that it's an important component for him to be self-motivated as he approaches adulthood, because this way he will continue to look after his overall health and just manage his condition, as well as, be motivated to be more independent. And I've also noticed that kids watch their parents even when they don't think they're paying attention. So when they see us as engaged parents, that reinforces a role model that they need to adapt for themselves. Therefore, engagement to me involves both the parent and the child, and this project addresses both of those aspects. Secondly, he's been involved as a participant in research projects at the Holland Bloorview Research Institute since he was 2 years old, and I believe that research is so important to ensure that the progress can be made with new discoveries and treatments that will help, current and future families and clients. This practice-based research project is very important to me because of the collaborative, integrated approach with all the stakeholders involved. So the team of researchers, students, physiotherapists, and occupational therapists, psychologists, knowledge users, and clinicians are involved in the ongoing process to ensure the result will have an impact on engagement and the success of rehabilitation related interventions. So included in this integrated approach, of course, is the input from the parent perspective and former clients and youth leaders, which enhance the project and helps to make a difference. I've been involved in the project by attending the monthly team meetings and giving input from the parent perspective by either giving, additional parent input or sometimes perhaps questioning a concept or idea to give the team members a different viewpoint. And I've also been involved in the simulation training for engagement on advising the parent role when attending a therapy session for their child or youth. So we're really looking forward today to having a conversation with you around what engagement means to you and why it's important from the different perspectives in the room. So I will now turn it over to Andrea.
I'm Andrea DeFinney. I'm a therapeutic recreation specialist here at Holland Bloorview, and I'm also a member of the same research projects that we've been discussing. My role in those projects is as a knowledge user, which means that as a clinician, I'm someone who will eventually be able to benefit from the knowledge and the resources that are generated as a result of the research. So for me, it's really exciting because I know that that engagement is so important to the clients that I work with. So it's been really exciting to be a part of contributing my perspective as a clinician and bringing that point of view. As Jan said, she brings sort of the parent's point of view, and we have lots of different members of the team. But I'm there to share from a clinician's point of view any thoughts and ideas, and it's really exciting to be able to contribute to some work that will ultimately be able to be a tool that I can use as a clinician in the future to do a better job of serving my clients and families that I work with. So we're going to move on to the interactive part of the session. You guys might notice you're sitting at round tables, which is a bit of a different format than usual knowledge connections. What we want to do now, the rest of the team has given you a bit of background, and what we want to do now is hear a little bit from you. So we really would like you to think about the two questions up on the screen here. So in what ways does engagement matter to your practice as a clinician? Or in what ways does engagement matter to your experience as a client or family? And if you don't fall into one of those two categories, why do you think engagement matters to us here at Holland Bloorview?
I would like to invite Eric to come on up, and he's going to be sharing an example of a project looking at engagement in youth life skills programs. So Eric, come on up.
Thank you, Sarah. So I'm going to talk briefly about a study completed with Gillian as part of my time in the occupational therapy program at the University of Toronto. The aim of this study was to learn from youth in life skills and transition programs about what strategies optimize their engagement towards goals. As Sarah introduced earlier, understanding engagement in terms of the affective, cognitive, and behavioral components was very helpful for us in structuring our interviews with youth. On the slide, there are two sample quotes. For the affective engagement, the slide reads, "I remember the service provider has known me from before, from another program, and she knows how I work and what things I like to do and what I want to be in the future." We interpret this to mean that youth in this study became more engaged when they perceived their service provider to be proficient not only in technical therapeutic skills, but also in core interpersonal skills related to understanding youth as being on a long-term journey. Engaging service providers saw youth relative to big picture goals. Next, for behavioral engagement, the quote reads, "I feel like I can reach a goal because I have the resources, I got a lot of mentoring, I have everything in place, I just need to put it together and kind of pursue it." Here we interpreted youth to become more engaged when they could visualize a clear path towards achieving their goals. A path made possible by co-creating with their service provider a network of resources they could draw upon and use on their own terms. Overall, while conducting this study, we found that a greater number of opportunities to engage youth could be identified when we truly learned and understood what engagement means. And if you would like to learn more about this subject, the references below, or I would be most happy to talk with you afterwards.
Okay, so time for another question. One of the aims of this program of research is to develop tools to measure engagement. So Sarah showed you a slide earlier with the various versions of different tools that are being developed. So a part of that is that we need to examine what engagement actually looks like. So our next questions for you are to talk about how do you know that your clients are engaged? and or what do you look like when you are engaged? So I know those both kind of sound like a simple question, but we want you to kind of really dig deep and to think about all of the things that we might be seeing or experiencing to show us that you yourself or the person that you're working with is engaged.
So now Gillian's going to talk about what we're actually finding in the research about what engagement looks like.
I was really struck by all of your comments because it just resonated so much with the kinds of things that we've been hearing from other service providers. So we've done a lot of interviews. We did 30 qualitative interviews with different groups, parents and service providers and youth themselves, as well as observations and sessions and interviews and so on and on and on. So part of the research we were looking at, were there different signs of engagement for children and youth? So we were trying to see were there similarities and differences depending on who they were, the age, right? So the quote on the left is the provider's view of child engagement, very similar to what you were saying there in the back. The quote reads, they're having fun, they're looking at you, if you're making a joke, they're laughing at you, but they're paying attention and they're also trying hard. So from this we inferred the importance of that personal connection between the provider and the child, that importance, the fundamental importance of that affective involvement, also called the therapeutic alliance. So that affect has to be there. That relates a lot to what you were talking about in terms of the optimism and that positive energy and all of that. That's the strong affective piece. But there's more to engagement than that. You were talking about behavioral aspects, but we also have the provider view of youth engagement. This quote illustrates cognitive engagement. It reads, when you get older, it has to be that they're involved. When I have the conversation with them and they see the value and understand that I'm expecting more from them, then I get nice involvement in changes, which is what we're looking for. So here we see the growing importance of cognitive involvement as children get older, become youth. This is very important for parents as well. The importance of youth and parents seeing the value in the intervention and understanding what it's all about, and we tend to really downplay that from the cognitive side of things.
So for one final opportunity for discussion, we would love to hear from you if there are any other thoughts that you would like to share, feedback or ideas around what else the research team should be thinking about as we move forward, or any other thoughts or questions that you have.
We've shared an overview of our international team of clinicians, researchers, and families' ongoing work on engagement. In order to understand this important and previously ill-defined construct, we have developed tools to measure engagement from different perspectives. We believe that by better understanding and measuring it, we can enhance engagement and improve clinical outcomes for clients and families.